An infectious disease outbreak that only affects women, leaving only one woman in the world. To perpetuate the human race, officials are offering huge rewards to encourage men to capture healthy women. The only woman alive is the one every man wants to hunt for. 400 days ago, unidentified gray object, fluffy and light as dust, fell from the sky. The couple was surprised when their friend came home. She was covered in dust and she lost consciousness. More strangely, blood started flowing from her ear, and before she knew it, she passed out. The others rushed to the hospital with her, but the hospital was crowded with patients. What's even weirder is that they are all dusty women. Realizing something was wrong, the husband quickly stole 2 protective suits and slipped all the way home with the woman to avoid the crowd. Just then, the woman's father called. The father was a doctor. He said that dust was contagious virus and should never be touched directly. Tell them to stay indoors and stay quarantined at home. 2 people immediately, according to the instructions, to the home to do all aspects of disinfection. Even the window gap was sealed by plastic, completely isolated from dust. They even quarantined themselves in a contained space to make sure they didn't get contaminated when slept. In this way, the first night passed without incident, but the situation was getting worse. The water source is contaminated with the virus, and the only way to drink water is to disinfect it again. For the safety of his wife, the husband at home filled with an ultraviolet lamp, go out after coming back, must use disinfection water, and then light sterilization lamp. 3 days later, there is still a lot of dust. Unfortunately, studies have found that men infected with the virus, even though they don't get sick, become carriers. The virus lives in their bodies, and when it comes into contact with women, it quickly spreads to them. In this way, the death number of women continues to rise. More thousands died in just 3 days. On the 7th day, all airports around the world were closed and planes were grounded. 44 days later, as the virus spread around the world, the situation spiraled out of control with fewer and fewer women. To preserve humanity, officials rushed to open a research laboratory and called on healthy women to sign up as volunteers for the embryo project. When the woman was ready to respond to the project, she found some secrets that surprised her. The plan turned out to be an experiment with females and hens in an attempt to allow females to carry their babies without men. To keep the study going, officials began to force women to attend the project. Just at this time, downstairs suddenly heard the sound of police sirens. The woman was surprised to see the researcher forcibly take away the woman who was found. Fearing the same fate, she quickly built a box under her bed in case of emergency. 100 days after the outbreak, the woman joined a group chat of healthy women who had survived. They come from all over the world to avoid the virus, but also to avoid being caught. They kept encouraging each other with warm words in the group chat. However, the number of women in the group still reducing rapidly. At 22 days, there were only 14 people left in the group. To keep his wife safe, the husband goes to do the virus test and found he is already infected. The man was very disappointed that he was already a carrier of the virus. She was completely cut off from the outside world and her husband. The woman's spirit is on the verge of breaking down under long-term high pressure. The time came 374 days. There are only 2 women left in the group chat, still testing. Her friend was just taken, and she didn't escape the infection. She sent a selfie with a date, and the date was the time of her death. Women print out pictures and put them onto the walls, and the walls are covered with pictures of women. They were all members of the group chat, but now she was the only one left. She looked around helplessly. After more than 300 days in captivity, her warm home had become a cage. She couldn't find a reason to leave. 400 days. The disappearance of the father finally caught the video, but the strange is that she did not comply with the agreed code. As a precaution, he did not turn on the camera, and her father, his face bruised, told her that her mother had also been taken. Because they didn't have enough subjects, they even attempted to find women who were past childbearing age. Learning the terrible dark story of the embryo project, the woman finally broke down. She cried in despair, and her husband grabbed the phone and quickly hung up the video. The injuries on his face indicate that he was being controlled. The woman has just exposed herself, and the lab will be looking for her before long. The woman went outside, pulled back her hazmat suit, let the dust settle on her, facing imminent death, breathing the freedom she had not seen for so long. The woman had been trapped for so long that she cannot insist anymore. The mother was taken, the father was controlled. If the price of living was to hide forever, she would rather be free one last time. The husband arrived a step too late. The test drugs showed that the woman had been infected with the virus. Before they fell ill, they decided to go to the beautiful waterfall where they had promised to fall in love and end their lives in the best place. They dodged the researchers and escaped a search in the dark. She covered her face with dust for safety and put on men's clothes to disguise herself as a man. But she did not expect to eat in the restaurant. Her ears began to bleed, and her husband immediately responded to the outbreak of the virus. The two quickly leave the restaurant, but their unusual behavior soon attracts the attention of bounty hunters. To find more female experimenters, the lab is offering a bounty of $2 million for anyone who catches a healthy woman. They fled to the woods and pitched a tent for the night. But for women who have been locked up for too long, even humble conditions can bring the joy of freedom. Early the next morning, the bounty hunters came after the woman, who had left the tent, but only the men were captured. The hunter and his son did not give up and waited until night. The man told them that his wife had been infected with the virus, that the lab did not accept sick women, and that they could not get the reward. However, the hunter did not care. In a world without women, women are far more precious than money, and satisfying their son is the goal. When it was late at night, the woman sneaked back to the tank, knocked the hunter unconscious, rescued her husband, and quickly fled into the woods, throwing off the pursuit behind her. At the end of the story, the two find the waterfall as they wish, and they take the last photo together, snuggling up to each other to meet the countdown to life.